Welcome everyone to today's Love Transformation class. And today I have the privilege of speaking with one of my favorite people on the planet. And it's really interesting because around 4 or 5 years ago, before I'd actually met this beautiful soul who I can now call a dear friend, I read an incredible article that she wrote in Elephant Journal about not ever wanting to get married. And just recently, she also had a really thought-provoking post on social media about not believing in soulmates. So I am super excited to dive into this powerful conversation. And I've got a feeling we're going to kind of really peel back and uncover some interesting things about love, relationships, and life with my beautiful dear friend, Elise Carr. Welcome.
Hi, gorgeous Peter. Thank you so much for that introduction. I feel like now I'm going to be positioned as like the Grinch who stole soulmates and love and marriage from people's lives. I promise you that's not the case, but we're going to explore that. So don't be too worried, people.
And just to set the record straight, you're in a beautiful, long-term, happy, conscious partnership. So this is not about being feminist and throwing all of our sense of the beauty about love out the window. Let's start off with this idea about soulmates. What was your intention when you wrote that post on social media?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like you, obviously, I'm in a space where I work with women, men, and couples. And being a Tantra practitioner, as well as someone who works in the psychological and spiritual sphere with my sacred guidance and the esoteric psychology, I'm trying to reach people on a spiritual base, on a psychological base, but also combine that with heart and how we can really apply that to relationships. So people come to me and they've often discovered that they've met someone, or they realize that they've had all these other past relationships that weren't right for them, and now they're either wanting that soulmate relationship or that twin flame, or they want to create it with the person they're with. And this concept of twin flame and even soulmate is a very modern, very new term that the New Age has picked up and kind of constantly feeds to us so that we believe this is real, that somehow, kind of like what the Greeks talked about many, many years ago, that we were once whole and we were split in two, and we have to spend our whole life trying to find that other half of us. For the record, that myth or that mythology there, the essence of that actually talks about the two halves that you are, being your physical self, this that we see, a physical self that has a body, that has emotions, that has thoughts, and also our higher self, which you can look at that as that biggest, brightest version of you, your soul, that God part, whatever you want to call it. They're the two parts that got severed. We've lost connection to what we really are. It's not someone out there, it's within yourself. So that there was already playing in my mind when I had now countless conversations with clients about this soulmate concept. I wanted people to broaden their perspective of what love is, understanding that we don't necessarily just have to be with one person for our whole life, although you can be. And if you are, then it's not going to be the love that's sold to you in Hallmark cards or in beautiful packages or shop windows or online courses sometimes even, where how to get them out in 10 easy ways. That's not love. That can be an illusion, as we call it, a glamour. It can be a feel-good hit that can last a portion of the relationship. And we've all somewhat felt it before. That little bit of excitement, that little bit of butterflies. That's not love. Love, when we talk about it with a big L, with this soulmate connection, is beyond that. And that's why I don't like to use the word soulmate, because if there's ever going to be a soulmate, it's you being the mate with your soul, yourself. And to develop a soul connection with another, that's different entirely, because develop a true soul connection with any other, being that a friend or a beloved, even someone that perhaps you'd like to get to know and develop something with them. It could be really early days in your relationship, or maybe you aspire to this with that next beloved or the next person you meet to become a beloved. You have to understand that it's not necessarily going to be this fireworks, exciting thing to last forever. It's just not. That's the illusion. That's the beautiful, shiny thing that they kind of sell to you. And then once you've bought it, they're off there with their money. You're stuck with this that will only last a second. So we have to invest in longevity. We have to invest in getting to know this person, this being, for who they really are, all of what they are, not just the blissful part of it, not just the joyful part of it, not just the great sex part of it, not just the excitement part of it, that kind of we're sold to, that that's the perfect relationship. No one I've ever worked with anywhere around the world, and I work with people around the world from all different faiths, backgrounds, you name it, countries, no one has a perfect relationship. They have to work at it. Just like we do this work here by listening to different summits and experts speaking, we do that work. We've got to bring that work into a relationship too. That's part of big love. You're investing in getting to understand your beloved from a physical perspective, from an emotional perspective, from a mental perspective. And then beyond that, yeah, if you can reach some kind of spiritual or soul place, but you've got to work to get there. It doesn't just happen overnight. So understanding that this is our, I suppose, our perception of reality that gets skewed by media, especially social media, you know, magazines, TV, all these different things that are sold to us. They sell us the pretty shiny package. We have to peel that back and look at the real truth that's before us, this real person that's before us, all of what they are, and understand that, yes, I can have a soul connection with someone. I mean, if you really believe it, as souls, we're all one, because soul is love, it's light, it's infinite, it's that life force that animates us, because without it, we would just be dead meats of, you know, or dead bodies, flesh. Sounds horrible, but it's what animates us, right? That soul connects all of us. So we are really essentially connected to every soul. Everyone can be a soulmate in that sense. We're all from the same place. But when we come into this experience of life, this human experience, let's call it, we have components of ourselves that aren't necessarily going to match up beautifully with another. You and I are going to have different thoughts on the same thing. You and I are going to have different emotional reactions to the same experience. You and I are going to have physical challenges and issues that are different to one another. It's understanding those components, working through those components, learning to love those components that will change our perception and change our experience of the relationship. And saying this, if we strip all that back, if it's just too multifaceted and complicated and I've raved on too much, then think of love as selfless service. Because we're also sold that love is about what you can give me, what can make me feel good, what I need in a person, in a relationship, in lovemaking, in things being given and bought for me, in services, whatever it is. If we switch that round and actually see love with a big L as being a selfless act, an act of kindness, an act of compassion, an act of giving, an act of non-judgment, an act of listening, an act of being present and supporting someone or guiding them through something, or just being there and actually doing nothing but being there for them. That is love with a big L. If you're in a relationship and doing those kind of things, or you've just met someone and you're doing those kind of things, you're more likely to grow and evolve yourself. And the relationship is more likely to grow and evolve because you're actually nourishing it with love, pure love, big L love, however you want to term it. From that, other parts of you can grow and evolve together. But like I said, it's a process. So soulmates, you can believe it or not, but those kind of fleeting firework experiences, they don't last. They're not designed to last. You can have a deeply passionate, intimate relationship with someone that can last a lifetime. I've met people who are in their 60s and they've been together for decades and they have this connection, but they've still done the work. It just happens that it's lasted for them because they've connected physically, emotionally, mentally, and then to some point greater. Spiritual love, soul love, whatever you want to call it. But you can't just have this soulmate bit and forget that you've got two minds, two hearts, two bodies, sets of wants, beliefs, environment, society impact, religion, families, work, all these other components that come with that person. So I want us to get real, I suppose, and strip back the pretty shiny labels of soulmate or twin flame and go, okay, what am I really looking for here? And how am I really going to work towards that with a current or future beloved?
I really want to circle back and talk more about this big L, because I can kind of hear some of our audience feeling a little bit confused. Like, I do love, you know, my partner unconditionally, and I have been like this and I've been like that, and it still doesn't work. So we're going to circle round to that in a sec. But first of all, what I notice about this society that we live in is that most of us have a belief, right, that at some point we are going to be chosen by someone amazing. We're going to choose them back. We're going to commit. We're going to live happily ever after. And that's really the key to my lifelong happiness. And my work now is really unlocking whatever I need to do to unlock whatever it is that's holding me back from being chosen and choosing this incredible person. And that's where my happiness is. And yet, interestingly, I feel like times are changing as well. What's your understanding of why we are so bought into this idea that our happiness really depends on living happily ever after, as the saying goes?
It's a really beautiful question, and pretty deep too. Kind of two components. I guess one, the beliefs, which we'll get to in a sec. And the other thing is like, how do we get to this point? Well, just look at, let's say one thing, Hollywood, the movies, happy endings. More and more we're seeing a bit more realism come into certain movies, or certain TV series that you see on Netflix or something like that. But the reality is happy ever after sells, because for some reason we have this innate desire and also a conditioning now, because it's been repeated to us over and over and over again, that that's what we deserve or what we need or what's going to happen at some point, surely, especially if I do this, this and this. So there's a lot of conditioning and preconditioning that's psychologically reiterated and kind of put in front of us all the time to reinforce this. Anything that's reinforced often becomes a belief. So our belief systems in and of themselves are being quite controlling of the choices we make, the expectations we have, and how we act in life. So if we can even just have a look at our belief systems, if you hold a belief system so tightly, like, surely he's going to come to me, it's going to happen in this amount of time, it's going to happen, I'm going to get proposed to with this ring, with these roses on this day, I could just feel it, I just keep thinking about it, I do affirmations on it, I pray to Buddha about it, whatever it is, you start doing everything you can to almost like manifest this into reality. Thank you, law of attraction. Whatever it is, it's just reiterating your belief. But is that your belief? That's what I want you to question, because that belief could have been put into you from fairy tales when you were little, from your mom or your dad, or seeing your, a sibling who was older than you, or all your friends believe it too. Somehow it's just been reiterated and reiterated to you. So is that actually your belief, or have you just adopted this belief? And kind of like you and I have talked about before, I see these beliefs like, let's say you're on a boat and the boat is your belief. It's right there. It's everything you've ever believed in. But what happens if that boat was taken away and you're at sea now, but you're in like a little survival raft? And what happens if that survival raft, that belief, now you've kind of gone, oh, well, maybe it's this. What happens if that survival raft gets taken away and you're just there in the ocean now with a life jacket? And what happens when that belief of the life jacket gets taken away and you're just on this piece of wood clinging to whatever it is that you've, still want to believe in so dearly? What I'm talking about here is a word I used before about losing those glamours. It's disillusionment. When your world that you've created starts breaking and crumbling down, because you may realize some beliefs you've held onto so tightly aren't real, or maybe you don't hold on to them anymore. And for me, when it comes, let's say, getting married, there was a time where I thought, I'm going to get married. I thought I knew the person I was going to marry. How? When? I thought by a certain time, after my mid to late 20s, I'd be married, and then I'd have a child at 28, and then I'd move to this country and this and this and this. It doesn't always work like that. Because life changes. I actually broke up with that person. But it wasn't just that. My belief system shifted because I started to open up my perception of reality, my reality, and thought, hang on a minute, what do I really want? What do I really want as an individual, as a woman, as someone who has a certain education? Yeah, okay, all those things. But me, Elise Carr, how do I see my future? And I couldn't picture myself ever being in a church, or if it was in a garden, there was never going to be someone who was then going to say certain words to me, who then was going to say, I'm officially married to this person. I didn't ever want to be Mrs. So-and-so. None of these things of this old system, because let's just be honest, marriage is actually put in place to exchange commodities, you could call it that. You kind of go from being your father's possession to now being your husband's possession. Now that's a very void of love perspective, but that really is how it was. So the whole connection to it, what that actual symbolism was holding on to still, wasn't part of my belief system. I didn't want to be someone's property. I didn't want to be someone's wife. I didn't want to be Mrs. So-and-so. I'm like, I'm Elise Carr. Even a hyphenated name didn't sit with me. So all these things, when I sat with every little part of that, didn't resonate. But at the time when I wrote that article, what did resonate was having a love fest, bringing together, some of our closest loved ones to share myself and my beloved standing before each other. Yes, I wanted to wear a beautiful white dress. Yes, there were going to be rings as a symbol of our commitment to each other. There's parts of the old school that I did like, right? Especially the beauty aspect, especially the love aspect, the exchange, the ritual aspect. So I picked bits of that belief system that resonated with me, which only left a portion of the original belief system. And now at this point in my life, in my mid-30s, I don't even want that anymore. I'm quite happy to stand before my beloved in that white dress if it comes to me, exchange our rings, exchange our words, have that moment in the middle of wherever, the south of France would be beautiful for me. And just know that this is us. And we're connecting here in a physical space, but we're connecting here emotionally. We're connecting here mentally. We're connecting here spiritually. And that to me, with no piece of paper, with no contract, with nothing legal in this country, with never being Mrs. So-and-so, with perhaps people thinking I'm either engaged for the rest of my life because I don't have a wedding band, none of that matters. It just needs to be what I believe and what he believes, because there's two of us involved in this sense. So ask yourself, what do you really believe in? Do you want a big wedding with a beautiful big dress and a big cake because you want to impress people? Because it's the right thing to do? Because your mother wants it? Because your mother-in-law's already planned it for you? Because you're doing it for your beloved, because that's what they want? Why are you making the choices you're making? Or why are you wanting this to be in your future? And you can apply this to anything. It's just that this is so heavily ingrained in us that we get married and we have the babies and we have the dog and we have the car and the house and the mortgage and all these other things that come with it. Maybe you don't want any of that really. You're just playing the game that life puts out because that's what everyone does. Are you everyone? Maybe you really do want all this, and that's okay too. But at least then you really know, because you've sat and you've questioned it and you've felt into it and you've really thought long and hard what your truth is in this regards. And if you are already in a relationship, that you've had this conversation and put everyone else aside, because people's opinions can be really influential. And if you are in a couple, the only opinions that matter are you and your beloved deep down. So I know it's a bit of a roundabout way of approaching it, but checking in with your beliefs is really key.
I love that we're having this conversation, because I think for a single woman who's spiritual and conscious and is doing the work to manifest a partnership at the moment, most of what she's finding out there, and I know my audience will agree with this, is how can I manifest someone faster or more amazing? And whilst those things might be important, the real essence of our conversation is how can I make sure, or how can I ensure that I live a life that's most aligned and joyful and happy with what is true to me? And no one's really talking about that, just talking about like, how can I more quickly get a partner and get married and live happily ever after? But this is a much more important conversation, because to me, really, it doesn't matter whether it takes 6 months, 2 years, 5 years. If you live out the rest of your life, or a good portion of that, in a relationship that's really aligned with what you truly want, I personally think that matters. That's what really matters.
Yeah, it's huge, because let's just be real for another second and go, hang on a minute, if I'm going to marry someone, we go into that thinking this is one of the biggest investments of my life. I want to spend the rest of my life with this person. What's the hurry? What if you make a mistake and choose the wrong person? Well, okay, of course there's divorce. You can get another shot. That's fine. But why put yourself through that unnecessarily? Let's take our time, because ideally we do have time. We'd like to think we do, at least, Sit with things that are important to you. It's not about ticking a box by the age of 25 or 30 or 35 or 52. It's not about that. It's about actually being honest with yourself and knowing that I'm going to step into this from a place of truth and integrity to me, not just fulfill someone else's wish or fantasy or this dream that I used to have that I guess I still feel the same way, kind of, sort of, or I should. Like, sometimes we don't accept the fact that we've changed, that what we wanted a couple of years ago or a decade ago isn't what we want now. So getting clear on these beliefs is one thing, absolutely. And the other part is also just accepting the fact that those beliefs can change. Maybe not your values or your morals, they don't often change as much, but beliefs can change. They can be like demystified, like a myth can be busted. And what you thought was like, no, this is it. This is my path. It's where I'm going. It's what I'm going to do in life. It's who I'm going to be with. It's how my life's going to be. That can take a big 180. And Peter and I, can be great examples of that. How we choose to live our life isn't necessarily what we thought we'd be doing at this point in our life, but it might be better because more in alignment with who we are, what we want really from our life, from this experience, and how we want to show up in the world. It'd be much better to wait for a beloved who is in alignment with who you really want to be than trying to fit in something just so that you can find someone quickly now and lock it in and get married and do all those kind of things. I have clients who have had incredible weddings with fireworks, with swans, in castles, you name it, everything. And I can honestly say none of those, and I'm not saying it's the same for everyone, but just as an example, none of those coupleships are lasting to this day. These people now have changed their lives. Some of them have moved countries. Some of them have now started relationships with men who are completely different to the men they thought they wanted to be with. But they were open to understanding that back then, I thought that was it. And now I realize that's not who I am. Not really. And even if it was me then, I was foolish to think that was going to be me in 10 or 20 or 30 years' time. We sometimes grow with people and sometimes we grow apart. It's the same thing with ourselves. The growing apart within ourselves is the peeling off those layers, those parts of us that aren't congruent, that aren't authentic, those glamours, those illusions, those false beliefs, or those perceptions that have been busted, if you will. So be open to your own evolution and growth on this path. Check in with the real beliefs and make sure whoever you're connecting with romantically, let's say in this regards, that you are sharing your truth and that you are open to their truth. And of course, in any partnership or relationship, we've got to find compromise or the middle way. Or sometimes it's all one person's way, sometimes it's all the other person's way, but there has to be compromise somewhere, right? Two hearts, two minds, two bodies, two souls, if you want to look at it like that. So be open to things shifting and changing, because here's the thing, everything is energy. Science proves that. We don't need to get woo-woo about it. It's scientific. Nothing stays the same. We have to be open to evolving and growing ourselves. And the thing is, you don't want to stay the same. You're here to evolve and grow and better know thyself, as I say to my clients. So the more you spend time in knowing your truth, let's say for this case, it's about your belief system, the more wiser choices you're going to make for that next relationship, or wiser choices you're going to make in this current relationship.
The point of this conversation here and the big takeaway for our audience is really just check in with yourself and the work that you're doing on this path. And is it really about getting to know yourself, really peeling back the layers and uncovering what is it that my heart truly desires? Because I know there's a lot of women walking around out there and they feel, single women, they feel lonely, left on the shelf, like there's something maybe wrong with them, that love hasn't happened for them, that they may, there may be deep feelings of insecurity or unworthiness, and that only if someone chooses being in partnership will they feel as though I can move past that. There's lots of different wounds that we have that hold us apart from being in a relationship. What would you say to those women that are single right now and that are really feeling a deep, powerful desire to be in a relationship that maybe is a result of those things that I've just mentioned?
And I just want to premise it by saying it's challenging and it's hard and it can be really painful. We talk about this from an esoteric psychology perspective as being a dark night of the soul. Don't get fooled and think it's one night. This can be a period of our life where we feel deeply lonely, disconnected from the dating world, or disconnected from men, or disconnected from people, disconnected from ourselves. There's certain things in life we can control, certain things we can't control. We can't control other people. At least we're not supposed to. That goes against nature. So what can we control? We can control our thoughts, our emotions, the way we behave and the way we act, our habits, our addictions, our wants, our needs. So we need to come back to that place that we have some control over. And often that starts with our mind, with our thoughts. If all our energy, if all our focus is going on to, why don't I have him already? What's wrong with me? I just, I can't believe I'm spending another night on my own. These thoughts ruminating in your mind over and over again do affect your emotions. They will throw you out of balance. They'll most likely then also have a physical effect, which could be eating a whole bucket of partner ice cream if you like organic vegan ice cream like I do, not that I'm condoning eating a bucket of it, drinking too much, online shopping, all different things, just making inappropriate choices for you. Maybe it's wallowing and disconnecting from the rest of the world when you could have gone out even just with a friend to walk the dogs in the park. Be aware, if we trace those steps back to the mind, how your thoughts are. Where is your focus? Because energy flows where attention goes. Sometimes it's when we take our attention off that very thing we want and we invest it elsewhere into working on ourselves, that there can be a shift. We've created an opening. We've softened. We've let go of holding on to those beliefs really tightly, like the boat or the life raft or the jacket. And we've kind of given ourselves some space to go, okay, maybe I was too rigid. Maybe I was too idealistic in this time frame I had, that it should have been now, or it should have been already, or should, or why not? Why me? These kind of questions. If we shift our perspective and also our perception of our reality and go, perhaps there's a reason for this. Perhaps this is part of my karma, in the sense that it's presenting you an opportunity to shift your life experience. Maybe you're not in the right place because you've always longed to pick up and go here. Well, what's holding you back? Because your ex is here and you're hoping maybe he'll change his mind, so you hover around this old space, the old neighborhood. Let's just say this: hanging around the old neighborhood is never the answer. You make it your own choices. But if we can shift our perception of our reality by starting with our thoughts and where we put that emphasis all the time, we will change our experience of life. We'll change our experience. Instead of feeling alone all the time, or disconnected, or something's wrong with me, or why not already, to going, okay, how can I just do one thing to shift that right now, right here, today? Do I need to pick up the phone and maybe make an appointment with the person I'm getting guidance from? Do I need to just get out of the house and just change my immediate environment? Do I need to look at how I'm consuming food, how much or what? What about some of my other habits? What's my default when I feel really wounded or hurt or rejected because someone didn't show up at a date that we organized on Tinder or whatever? What do I do normally? And how can I break that habit? One thing that I work very closely with clients on is breaking these habits and these cycles and these patterns that hold us back from really starting to do the work. And that often starts with the mindset. And not all of us start from the mind. Some of us do start with the emotions. But let's just say this: heart and mind, wisdom and love, as we call it, are connected. One doesn't work without the other. We actually can't have love without wisdom, because it would just be feelings. There'd be no conscious awareness with it connected. So whatever's going on with you, this is a heart-mind challenge. This is a heart-mind wall, whatever it is. That's where we need to start looking. Now, it's not an easy path. That's why there's people like myself and Peter and other people that you might gravitate to help guide you through this in a personalized one-on-one environment where you feel safe and seen and heard and cherished in a professional way, but still feel like you can share everything that's going on for you. Because it's really important that if you're not feeling that from a beloved, that you can at least get that from someone else. And when I say feeling cherished and feeling held or heard, we do that by helping you understand that we can see you. We get where you're at. You're not the only person, and there is a way out of this dark night of the soul. It's just that if you keep going against the same part of the wall in that darkness, nothing's going to change. We have to change our thoughts. We have to then allow our emotions to shift and change, to therefore also change those habits or those default reactions for something to change within us, so that our whole experience of this hold up that we think is going on, of this reason why he's not coming, to my house to pick me up anymore, whatever it is, shifts and changes too. So less holding on so tightly to how we think something should be, when it should happen, what it should look like, and kind of pull back a little bit. Get some perspective, see if we can start working with the mind and heart united to change your perception of your reality and work from there. Slightly different approach, I know, and most people don't bring the psychology to it because it's all about how to feel good or how to attract or how to manifest or how to bring it to you. But maybe you're putting the focus on out there, and that is a giant hall of mirrors, like a world of illusions. You can't control that. That can change like that. Today's magazine cover lines tomorrow's kitty litter tray. Let's be real. So you can control in here. You can control this. You can control this, the mind and the heart. And you can control those habits and default reactions when you're hurt or wounded or sad or whatever it is. But getting to that point can be tricky. That's why we're here to help and guide you. But just know that's a great place to start, especially if you haven't even considered it yet. So I seriously encourage you do look at your thoughts and how they affect your emotions and then affect your reactions.
Yeah, perception really is key. And I notice and have experienced this myself, that a lot of what happens in our dating life, the results or lack of results in our relationships, or success or lack of success in relationships, we attribute it so much to ourselves. Like, a man decides to no longer date us or to not be in a relationship with us anymore, and the degree to which we create a meaning about ourselves around that, about not being lovable, I wasn't pretty enough, I wasn't this, whatever stories were not interesting enough or funny enough or successful enough, like whatever stories we run, we create so much unnecessary meaning about things that happen in relationships. What advice would you have? And I know that one of the things that I focus on with my clients is getting them to create a life, so to use your example, if the ship had sunk and the life raft had sunk and they're hanging on to this piece of driftwood in the ocean, it's like, all right, now's your opportunity to actually rebuild the ship, like the exact ship that you would want, and go and set sail and live a life that you truly love. And I think one of those important part of that is creating a life that you love and not attributing the results of your love life too much to what that means about you. What advice would you have for people who are struggling a little bit with that?
Yeah, it's a great question. First of all, it's natural to struggle because it doesn't come easy. We want everything to be fast, cheap, and easy, like fast food. It's not just like a drive-through thing where things are going to be great. When you go one visit to McDonald's, not going to happen, my friends. So this concept of holding on to a certain time frame of wanting it now, we also have to soften a bit around that. It's a work in progress, like you are a work in progress. Changing your life perceptions and focus might just start with one simple step. So let's just break it down. Let's not think we have to revolutionize our entire existence overnight and then we're going to be great. What's one thing that you've been really holding on to that doesn't serve you anymore? And this is for your whole life, because this isn't just the relationship portion of your life. And for the record, it could affect all relationships. It could affect how you show up at work. It could affect how you show up as a parent or as a sibling or whatever it is that you do in your world, all the different hats you wear. When you start shifting and changing within you, there is that ripple out effect. So keep it simple, a baby step. And the reason why we do this is because we don't often stick to change. That's why we say, even with the mind, it normally takes 21 days for us to really solidify a new habit. So if you just take one thing, perhaps it's the way you go to work every day. Maybe you've just done the same thing. It's mundane, it's routine. What if you went a different way? Or what if today you rode? Or what if today you got up early, started early, finished early, and gave yourself a window at the end of your day to go do something that you love? Maybe it's go get a massage. Maybe it's make it to the organic market before it closes. Maybe it's whatever it is for you, fill in the blank. Create some time and space to think about what it is that you'd like to shift. And then one of my favorite C words really is commitment. Commit to yourself. Commit to you. There's no one more important in your life, truly. And I say that from a selfless perspective, because when you have that for you, when you're kind of a more full cup, I like to think of it sometimes, and I say to my clients, it's like you're a watering can. When you're full, you've got more to give. And if you keep watering the roses, you have to find pause moments to stand still in the rain to fill up again before you can then be of service. So the beautiful thing with all of this, with everything that you do to invest in yourself, to understand yourself, to make wiser choices, baby steps starting small, is that it will benefit that next beloved. It will benefit that person that you connect with at your office or place of work or whatever it is the next day. It'll benefit your dad when you call him and have more patience and more calm. People may actually start to notice shifting, kind of aspects of you. Maybe you feel different to be around. There could be a lightness, a light, a warmth, a harmony that comes with it. This is the beauty aspect, the real innate beauty, that real part of you, your essence, that je ne sais quoi, as we say in French, that kind of intangible quality that only you have. Every person has it. Most people don't find it Therefore, they can't radiate it out. It gets squished with what society tells me I should be, with that person who says I should be like this, or that ex-partner who never liked when I did this. It was too offensive, but that's how you like to be because you like your nails painted red, white, and yellow. Understand that the more you tap into you, the more you're going to be you, the more fulfilled you're going to feel, the more likely you're going to be open to actually connecting with someone who's more in alignment with you. Forget about timelines, forget about formulas. It's sitting with your truth to actually let that radiate out. So, in a short answer, I suppose, in regards to this, find one thing that you can make shift in your life, one tiny little thing that can either create some space to do something that brings you joy, or create space to change the way you do something so that you get a different outcome and you feel more in harmony, at peace, joyful, open, whatever it is. Maybe it's just buying fresh flowers for yourself. Instead of waiting for the man to always buy you the flowers, buy a beautiful bunch of flowers. Even if it's $10 or $20, you don't have to do it every week or every day, but every now and again, why not? Or maybe, why don't you gift something that you'd love to someone else? And then what you receive is actually seeing the joy that you've brought them. Because that experience, that giving, is also love with a big L. That's the selfless act. So start shifting your perspective on what you want and start thinking how you can give. Either give it to yourself or give it to another. And be aware of the shifts that come of it. Now, as I said, you can't just do it once. Commit to something tiny, simple, that's realistic for you, and do it over a space of, let's say, at least 3 weeks. And be aware if you notice any shift. Record it in your journal, write it down on your laptop or your iPad, whatever it is. See if you can track a pattern or some kind of rhythm or a routine that comes of it, and just see what comes of that.
I have just one final question for you. And this is something that I feel like has been coming up a lot in this age of Instagram influencers and a lot of our life being dominated by social media, is women not having a great self-opinion of themselves, or a self-opinion that seems to be set up in comparing themselves to others. You know, I don't have the body of J-Lo, or you know, I'm not as pretty or successful, or have these beautiful clothes, or my hair's not long and luscious, and my makeup's not like this. And there tends to be quite a bit of comparison. We're almost looking to other women to see where we fit into this hierarchy, and in terms of like, well, am I here and I'm going to get chosen soon, or am I down here? And you know, a lot of this seems to be happening at the moment. And I love the fact that you just mentioned the beauty, really, and what a man falls in love with is really the essence that is of you. Do you have any advice for women about how, you know, we can perhaps have a sense in our cognitive mind of knowing I should really just love myself just the way that I am, and accept that I have my own uniqueness and my own beauty, but it's really hard to not compare myself to everyone out there that I'm seeing online, and not feel small and not enough as a result?
Yeah, it's really serious actually, because it can bring on anxiety, depression, complete absorption of your thoughts, the way you behave and act can all be influenced by it. Couple of things. We'd approach this differently with each individual. So what I'm going to share with you are broad strokes, but bear in mind they may or may not work for you. So having a personalized approach to this is really important. But for the sake of answering the question, we need to remind ourselves once again, like I said before, we're putting a lot of focus outside instead of inside. So that comparison, you know, what's beauty? If we even look at the trajectory of beauty over the years, Marilyn Monroe, who was many sizes bigger than, let's say, Kate Moss in the 90s, was beautiful. The Renaissance women were extremely curvy with luscious bottoms and hips and breasts, and no Botox, no enhancement, all a la naturelle. You know, even when you look at, I suppose, the 60s, there was a bit of a twiggy thing, tiny, androgynous. That was sexy at the time. You know, and then the 90s, there was that grungy look as well, I suppose. But then you also at the same time had the 90s supermodels, the real supermodels who had the luscious long hair, who had, yeah, hips, but tiny waists, who had breasts, but they were also Amazons who were really tall. Not everyone can be that. And then you look now and yeah, there's a Kardashian influence or a bit of J-Lo, you know, showing that we can have different body shapes. But each kind of era picks a point where they go, okay, that's beautiful. Everyone aspire to that tiny little percentile where everyone's not going to fit into that. So be aware it's kind of chosen for you and then dictated to you. So once again, you can choose to buy into that and believe it and hold on to it like your boat for dear life, going, how am I ever going to fit into this size? How do I make my bum perkier and bigger? How much money can I afford to spend on Botox this month? You know, if you haven't already, I do encourage you to listen to my episode on Sacred Guides with Stella Muse on Botox, where I actually explain what it is, what it can do, research that actually has been done that talks about some of the dangers. I demystify that. And I think it's really important for us to have a different perspective of this reality that we're sold. So be aware, these are all fabricated, nicely bundled up little versions of beauty that keep getting shipped out to you that you're supposed to absorb. Now, if you're constantly looking at social media feeds, if you're constantly reading certain magazines, if you constantly look at certain blogs and websites of these kind of, let's say, niche markets of beauty, then you're going to start to believe that that is what is beautiful. And you're going to be spending too much time there on the outside and not enough time within yourself on the inside, finding out, hang on a minute, who am I? What do I want? And when you start to ask yourself some questions and start to feel into that, act upon that, think from that space, feel from that space, live from that space, that is when your true beauty can shine through. That's when the real you, how you are, how you want to show up in the world will come through, because you'll have more joy shining through. You'll have more light shining through. Not this suppression of who you are to try and fit into a tiny mold. Because if you're a hexagon and you're trying to squeeze into a tiny little circle, what are we doing here? Scientifically, biologically, it's bananas, right? And then the other side of this that I want to share is that I come from a different background as well. I wasn't always doing this work. From the age of 7, I started in the ballet and then modeling world. I was an international model at some point. Now, I'm not saying this to share what an amazing glamorous lifestyle I had, because I can honestly tell you, nearly every woman I met, 99.999 of them, had openly shared an issue, at least 1 or 2 or 3 or 20 that they didn't like about themselves physically. And that other 0.00001% of them just didn't reveal it. So what I'm saying here is every single woman I have ever come across who you might look at and go, oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. Look at those legs, look at those abs, look at that hair, look at those lips, whatever it is, it's going to be beautiful to someone and not beautiful to someone else. So once again, we've talked about this a lot. Beliefs, perspectives, and perceptions, they're all skewed and packaged. And if you buy into it, whether it's with your money, with your mind and your thoughts, whatever it is that you're investing in that, that is then going to have a massive influence on you, your experience of reality, your experience of life, your experience of the dating world. So be really aware of what you're choosing to buy into, whether it's a belief, whether it's a product, whether it's an experience, whether it's a relationship. You have that power. You vote every time you make a purchase. Every time you look at someone's, feed, their posts, whatever it is, you are investing in your reality. Now, really, I say investing because it's investing your time and energy and money and effort, but really it's actually taking away. You're detracting the opportunity for your true self to shine through because you're smothering it in everything else that it is not you. So we urge you, please, to find out who you really are. Now, one tangible thing that you can do if that's the case is have a digital detox. Don't go on social media, or perhaps unfollow some of those accounts that don't bring you joy or inspiration or motivation, because they're great. You could look at someone and maybe they're eating a certain kind of recipe of foods or repertoire of foods. You're like, yeah, it inspires me to make my dinner every night. Great, follow them. Maybe there's a beautiful person over here who has something amazing to say, but also has the most amazing wardrobe and you'd like to do something like that. Okay, follow them. But be careful where you put your energy and emphasis, what beliefs you start to hold on to. You have this power. It is your choice. Easy? Not necessarily, but simple nonetheless. So get rid of some of that digital media time if you need to. Don't buy the magazines if you don't need to. If the conversation goes down that path with your girlfriends talking about this person, that person, just go, hey, I don't really want to go there today. Let's talk about something that brings us joy. Have you read this book? See if you can actually take some control. Take back control, as Brexit said. Not that I'm pro or anti, but great tagline. That's what we can buy into. Take back some control of your life, because here's the thing. No one else will. It's up to you. And if you don't, that guy riding up on the horse with the flowers, potential, possible, maybe, but not necessarily guarantee. What is guaranteed is that you can change your reality, you can change your experiences, you can change your own beliefs, and therefore change your whole perception and experience of your life. To me, that's amazing. And you already have that gift. It's free, it's innate, it's within you. So start from there.
Beautiful advice, Miss Elise. Absolutely beautiful. And I love that you now are able to share with our audience a gorgeous practice that will help them to really step into all that we've been talking about today. Tell us more.
Absolutely. I have a guided visualization called Higher Love that I want to share with you. So you can listen to it wherever you are, ideally in a safe, comfortable space, because I will encourage you either to sit up in like a meditative position or to lay down, whether that's on the couch or on your bed, and just enjoy being guided from a place of love that you think might be important. Let's say sexual love, romantic love, letting that kind of wash over you to some point, to bring it to a place of heart love, of real connection, of some kind of intimacy emerging. You can visualize this with a current beloved or someone you're yet to meet. And then we want to take it higher to a place of feeling love and connection with something that's greater than that. Soul love, eventually universal and cosmic, of everything that is, of all that we're part of all that we return to, if that's what you believe. So it's a beautiful journey. It's super easy and relaxing and soothing, but it also plants some beautiful little seeds and help kind of reiterate some of the things that we've covered today as well. And you can listen to it whenever you want. It might be a great way to end your week or end your day, or maybe just start your Sunday morning if you'd really love to be snuggled up with someone. Maybe that someone isn't in your bed yet. You can snuggle up with this guided visualization and help you get to that place by starting with you.
Thank you so much. Beautiful. I'm really excited to dive into that myself. And I would encourage anyone who's interested to connect with Elise. And definitely, if you're interested in finding out more and exploring some of the things that we've talked about today, I know there's a lot of incredible wisdom and beautiful, beautiful conversations that Elise has on her Sacred Guidance with Stellar Muse podcast. All the links are below the video today. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience before we finish?
The main thing is be true to you. If some of the things that you're holding on to really aren't you, then they're weighing you down and they're holding you back from living that life that you really want to live, ideally with that partner that you want to live your life with. So sometimes it's really good to listen to these things twice. So if it's your first time going through this, take some time in the next few days or a week and come back to this and have a listen and actually see what you can tangibly start to implement, to start to unpackage some of the old ways of doing things and learn some new ways, new belief systems perhaps, to create new perceptions, to create a whole new experience of your life. Yes, your romantic life, but really your entire life, because we don't want to break you up into parts. You are a whole. Your physical, emotional, mental, spiritual self is all important. That's where we want to start, from one of those places to ideally harmonize all of you.
Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for joining us today. And tune in again tomorrow for another beautiful conversation to expand your love consciousness. See you then.